Oh, hey guys, welcome back to TrainWorldTV. Today we're continuing the series of how to build a layout with something that's instrumental and really gets me excited about running trains on my layout, and that's laying track. Now what we're going to need in this video is Atlas Code 83 track is what I'm using, a nail punch, some track nails, and a tack hammer. We're also going to need wire, and we'll get into the gauge later, but we're also going to need some rail joiners as well. These are Atlas rail joiners. All of these things, or most of these things I should say, you can find at trainworld.com, but let's go ahead and get started with how to lay track in this video. Now, the first thing you're going to want to figure out is on the back of Code 83 track from Atlas, there's also Code 100, which has a little taller rail, helps prevent derails. There are these broken areas of the ties. Now that side you're going to want to keep to the outside of your curve. So in this case, this is the outside of my curve. Those little broken areas in the ties are going to be on the outside of this curve. I'm laying a curve for a couple different reasons. I want to show you what happens with your track and how to lay a curve, but more importantly, I want to show you how to offset some rail joiners so that you don't have what's called kinks in your rail. Now, as you can see, just by slightly adjusting that rail into the curve, we have a problem. This side is sticking out more, and this side is short. And that's what's going to happen when you run into laying track on curves, and we will cover that as well. But we are at a connection point here, and this is going to take two Atlas Code 83 rail joiners, which I will put on. Now these little rail joiners can be kind of sharp, so in tricky areas you can use this, which is a rail joiner sidekick. This is Atlas item number 401. But I just usually slip them on when I'm connecting track, because if you have machine engineered ends, so you haven't cut the ends, they usually slide on no problem. You're going to want two rail joiners, one on each side of the track, so that is no problem there to go ahead and now connect these two pieces of track here. Now we are getting ahead of ourselves just a little bit, because on the underside of Atlas track there are these little pre-drilled holes. You can see them here. Now this allows for you to have the option to either lay your track down with some sort of adhesive, or in my case, nail your track down. So what I'm going to do is use a pin vise and the 3/64 drill bit to pop through some of these holes so that I can nail my track down. The holes will show on the other side, and they will indicate where I need to place a nail, and they do have a good depth to hold the nail down, hold the nail in place as you hammer it down. One thing you will need to do, because the rail is going to be offset, is to snip off a couple ties. So what I'm doing now is cutting these ties. You can use rail cutters, but that can dull your rail cutters, so I'm just using this copper wire cutter here. And now, ensuring that that side's on the outside, you can now slide this into the rail joiner. And if you're just beginning, obviously there's not going to be a rail joiner, but otherwise you can slide it right in. Now the great thing about these track nail holes, which I'll just show you one, is the nail will sit in there. It will also sit beneath or in between your cork road bed. And then you can gently hammer the nail down. Now sometimes you flatten out the head. That's where this hole punch comes in. You don't want to be pounding on the rail or flattening out that head too much. So this is giving way because I'm just giving you an example of one hole that we're nailing into, but if you keep the hole that you pre-drilled from the bottom even and center of your cork road bed, and you laid your cork road bed where you wanted, that'll come out fine. As you see here, these aren't just rail joiners, these are rail joiners with wires. And every other 36-inch piece of flex track, you're going to want those. As you can see, there's one here as well. So really every feeder wire is going left for 36 inches and right for 36 inches. So you don't have any track interruptions. As you can see here, there'll be no track power interruptions. This will evenly distribute power all throughout your layout. Now there's a couple different options for these. You're going to want it color code because we'll get into wiring in a bit in this next video. But I've got green and yellow here, and these are just rail joiners from Atlas that I've soldered to wires. And this is 24 gauge solid copper wire. Solid is the best for that, but you're going to want that to be every 6 feet or so on your layout. Alright, so now let's talk more details about curves. As I told you, the rail is going to be staggered, and this will help prevent kinks. And what you're simply going to do is offset about 18 ties and cut. So when one rail is going long, such as this one here extending to here, you're just going to take another 36-inch piece and cut 18 ties. You're going to want to leave areas for your rail joiners because you're going to slide ties under there without lifting the rail or making any adjustments to the rail. I'll get to that in finishing the layout, but you'll sand down the ties. You're going to offset. Simple as that. This will help a smooth curve occur and not a kink. Now a kink is just when it takes a sharp angle slightly, and that can cause a lot of derailments. But this offsetting procedure will help you to keep those kinks out of your layout. Another example here, this one with a feeder. Obviously the feeders are a little apart. These are those 24 gauge solid copper wires that are going to be dropped down through the layout for wiring later. But as you can see, that helps a smooth curve occur. This is concrete tie track, which Atlas has also, and you can get that at TrainWorld.com. But that just allows for a nice smooth curve. Now track planning is key because these are Atlas turnouts, and you're going to want to know where those go as to follow your track plan, so you don't just have solid rail going all the way around. Now once your track is down and nailed down, and if you want to, you can take a simple pair of trucks and run it along, see if there's any snags. You're going to want to make sure that rail didn't slip out of a rail joiner anywhere. You'll be able to hear a little bump or something if that occurs. Now there are suggested to be little gaps in the rails because depending on your climate control and your layout, your temperature can change, causing the metal to expand and contract. So as you see here, I've left just the tiniest little bit of a gap in the rails for that expansion and contraction. Now once you have your track down, feel free to run some rolling stock as well to see how it does before you get everything wired up and you have to redo things. These are Atlas re-railers. I have them at my drop bridge area here because this helps if there's any sort of inconsistencies in the rail to keep things on track, no pun intended. Another thing you want to try to watch out for when track laying is what I call, and what all model railroaders call, S-curves. So if there's a curve going opposite directions, forming an S, you're going to want a straight area. The rule is at least a foot or so, or your longest piece of rolling stock, so that the consist isn't getting yanked in two different directions in that S curve. Well, we've made a lot of progress on the layout by laying some track. We've got an entire district wired and an entire loop of 150 feet of track laid, and I hope my video here helped you on how to lay that track. Now, there's always going to be gaps in information and questions you may have, so be sure to comment down below if you have some, and as a community of modelers, I'm hoping that we'll be able to chime in, or other viewers can chime in to help you out. With that said, thanks for watching how to build a layout from start to finish. This has been Laying Track. We have a lot of future videos that are going to be pretty neat as well, so I hope you'll stay tuned to the series. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on TrainWorld TV. Take care.